Good morning and welcome to Backyard and Beyond. Being that it is the last day of 2010, I thought I would take a look back at Backyard and Beyond. I like to do that every once in a while because it has been going on for, would you believe, I should make you guess, 13 and a half years. Started July 7th of 1997. And so that means there have been a potential of 3,510 Backyard and Beyond programs. There have been three of those that were not aired. One of those, pretty good reasons. One of those, of course, was the 9/11. Another time there was a tornado going through the area about the time that Backyard and Beyond should be on. Another time was a little more fun thing. The Hawkeye Bowl game interfered. And then there were three other programs that I have not personally done. And one of those, I was in the hospital at one time. Rick found a really interesting guy to interview. And out of those number, I really hate to say this, but I forgot one. And dear Chris just filled in, and it went on. Backyard and Beyond went on regardless. So it's been interesting most of the time. It's been funny some of the times and frustrating occasionally. Now, those of you who are constant listeners probably can guess a few of those frustrating times. The couple of times when we have made phone calls to someone across the nation, they just weren't there. And occasionally that was technical difficulty once or twice. But one time the guy just wasn't there. He didn't have on his calendar. I don't know, but he just wasn't there. So, what do you do for 10 minutes? Well, you sort of ad lib. And I love the comments that people after, they see me after the program and make comments, and I always love to hear those. But the one time when this person was not there that was supposed to be there on live, about halfway through the program, I got a call and I thought, oh, good, he's calling back. And here it was, Jim Field on the other end of the line at the front desk saying, that happened to me this morning also. So you just never quite know what's going to happen when you go on live. Well, topics covered are varied. Again, if you're a constant listener, you know that not very often is the topic the same 2 days in a row. There have been a couple of occasions where we've interviewed somebody really interesting who couldn't tell their story in 10 minutes, so we do a second time with them the following day. But that doesn't happen very often. And some of the topics are pretty silly, some of them useful, some of them serious, and many of them, of course, has someone besides me talking, which I hope you all enjoy. But on the kind of strange side, but could be useful side, have talked about hot dogs, nylon hose, how did ballpoint pens come to be, and most recently, petroleum jelly. But, that turned out to be useful to some people also. And then we always enjoy visiting with folks who have some event going on. It's just, we did yesterday with Sally Meyer talking about the Nativity Scene event coming up on next Saturday. We've talked about fundraisers, we've talked about musical events, and it's great to have people call up and volunteer and say, I would really like to come and visit with you about whatever this event is. And we always welcome that, always appreciate when people do that. Occasionally people will also call, or as I see them on the street, say, I know an interesting person. You really should talk to this person. And again, I appreciate that because almost everybody, everybody has an interesting story to tell. Sometimes they don't know it. They don't think other people would be interested. But everyone has a story to tell. And it's great when we get to share those on Backyard and Beyond on KJAN. Initially, when Backyard and Beyond started, and probably a few people who, think haven't heard it before, think about the title and think, well, we're just going to talk about yards. We're going to talk about lawns and flowers and so on. And we do that quite often during the spring and summer and so on. But the point is, and I just emailed this to someone trying to explain the program, that it's more about location. Backyard is about the people and events and information that's local. And Beyond is statewide, nationwide, and even worldwide. Looking back, I visited with people in over 100 Iowa towns. I used to keep really good track of that, and I've sort of not done that lately. But I know that it's over 100 different towns. Some of them, everybody knows that town, like, Des Moines and Council Bluffs. But then there are some of those little towns that you go, never heard of that town before. But somebody will have out there. Lansing, DeWitt, Castana, Bloomington. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lots of small towns in Iowa that have interesting stories to tell. And then beyond that, we have talked to people in France, in Canada, several other places in the world. And then, of course, we have talked to people either from those other countries or local folks who have visited those other countries. And that number is somewhere about 40 different countries. So it is truly Backyard and Beyond. Again, I always appreciate you telling me some ideas about what you would like to hear, people who would be interesting. This is just a visit. And of those programs, when we've asked people to be on, to visit with me, I have not got a list, but I know that the number of people who have said no, I can count on both hands or less. I'm thinking it's 6 or 7. So I'm a pretty easy person to visit with and love visiting with folks. Well, a couple of other things that you might be interested in are some of the people. And the people that I get most comments back from usually are local folks who are looking back in their memories to talk about things that happened to them long ago. And a couple of people that I have written down, and I know there's lots of people like that, but Vince Dimmick was somebody who I visited with from Atlantic, and Harold Stansvold from Exira, Maida Larson from Audubon, folks who have great memories and could tell you what kind of car they had in 1927 or what happened to them on a specific year. Great memories, way beyond what I could tell you. A couple of, I shouldn't say favorite, but interesting people that are away from here, are more the beyond, include Gary Steinbeck, whose name you don't know, but he was a classmate of mine, and what makes it interesting is that he worked on the Apollo space mission and knew all of those astronauts very well, and they had a lot of good things to say about him and things they had written. Fred Grandy. Do you remember Fred Grandy from TV? And Miss America, who originally was from Hancock. And then I always have to list Abraham Lincoln. And of course, that was the person who impersonates Abraham Lincoln, but it was very, very fun visit. Chip Carter. Chip Carter was President Carter's son, and we lined up the date for the interview with his secretary, and the day it was to be done, thank goodness it wasn't live. The day it was to be done, he was not available and apologized. Really apologized for not being available when I finally got to visit with him. And it was because he was working with some tribes in some other country to try and settle some differences. And I'm thinking, and here he is apologizing to me because he doesn't have time to do the program at that time. Well, for the most part, as I say, it's been very interesting, and I plan for it to continue to be an interesting experience for me, and hopefully, as you listen, an interesting experience for you. And I do appreciate your comments and your suggestions. So as you think ahead, I want to wish you a very best of the new year.